All right, we're going to get started because we have 4 participants on Zoom and you guys are here. And I want to thank you all for coming today, obviously. I miss my days of classrooms packed with people, but I understand today's environment and it doesn't work that way anymore. But I'm glad you're all here through Zoom or through or in person. And we'll keep on adding people as they come in. So I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Danielle Dustman. Hi, Austin. And I've been in real estate for 17 years. I started out in Massachusetts in 2003 and was on a team up. I was independent up there and then I was on a team. And then I moved down here not knowing anything or anybody. And I ended up coming with an expansion team at the time, which they weren't ready for us here. It was just a new expansion team at the time. And we decided to part ways. And then I've been on a team ever since in the office here, which I love. And recently my husband retired from the military and he got his real estate license last year. And so now I'm the director of operations for a team here, the Médias du Toit team. And he is a buyer's agent on the team. And so I still get to keep my hands in the business, which I love as far as, you know, he's meeting all the clients out on the street now, but I get to do trainings for the team and run the team. And I really love that part too. So it's been good. And today what we're going to be going over is best practices with buyers. And so I'm going to be very interactive and on Zoom, I want you guys to be interactive as well. So feel free to use the chat box. We'd love to hear your voice through that, or if you want to unmute yourself at some point, you can also talk. That'd be great. We are going to talk about best practices, and I want to know here, and either raise your hand or say yes on chat if you can, who uses a buyer presentation currently? Anybody?
I believe I will when I have a buyer.
Okay, that's cool. Well, good time to get prepared, right now. So that's what we're going to go over today. So in today's environment, what we're finding is that things are flying off the market really quickly, and a call might come in and say, hey, can you meet me at 123 Main Street at 4 o'clock to show me a house? And some agents might think that's okay. But I want to know, and again, everybody on Zoom too, answer if you can, who here is a door opener and who here is a business owner? How would you classify yourself? Not really sure? Okay. So what happens is you'll get calls and people will say, I want to go see this house right now. You have no idea if they're qualified. You don't know if they're a serial killer. You don't know if they're even looking, it's true, right? You don't even know if they're looking to purchase a property. You don't know how serious they are. So there are certain steps that we like to take to, number one, make sure you're not wasting your time. And number two, to make sure you're safe, because you don't know. And we get to that level of, well, I really must sell a house, thinking that I have to go show it right now, not knowing if it's really even a qualified buyer or if you're going to be safe when you go do it. So we have a few procedures in place. Our first thing, which I don't have in here, but I have on my slides, and I actually put it towards the end because what I did was I built our buyer consultation, which I'd be happy to share with anybody who wants it. We have definitely taken a base and then built off of it and changed it over the time. But I actually added a couple other slides in here that I wanted to share with you as well. So let me get down to my most favorite script for buyer's agents, which is called LP Mama. Oh no, how did I do that? Oh, come on. Sorry guys, the Zoom thing and all this is kind of crazy for me. I'm gonna go slower. Slowing down. Does anybody know what LP Mama is? Okay. This is a great script for when you're qualifying a buyer. LP Mama stands for location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment. So let's say somebody calls in and they say, hey, I'm really, really interested in 123 Main Street. You could say, that's awesome, great. Are you only looking in that neighborhood? Are you looking all over Sarasota? Are you looking all over Bradenton? Try and drill down a little bit more information about what location they're looking in. Some people don't know. Some people literally are like, I want anywhere from Tampa to Venice. Okay, let's try and drill down a little bit deeper. So you're asking location, and then you say, okay, well, that house is listed at 350. Is that your price range? Is that what you're looking to spend? Well, no, I'd really rather spend 250. Okay, great. So you're getting more and more information. Why are you looking to move? Are you in a lease? Do you currently own? Do you have to sell your home? Maybe they just had a baby. They're going to give you a little bit more information about their motivation. And then you ask them if they have an agent already, because if they do, you want to stop your conversation. You never want to step on anybody else's toes. And if they say, nope, I don't have an agent, I'm not working with anybody. Okay, great. Are you looking to pay cash, or are you going to be getting a mortgage for this property? Well, we're looking to get a mortgage. Awesome. Do you already have a pre-approval letter? Do you have a lender you're working with? Asking those questions, digging a little deeper, and then you're going to close for the appointment. So you've already gotten a lot of information. You can repeat what they've told you. I hear that you want to spend $250. You're looking in the Bradenton, Sarasota area. Your current lease is going to be up in 3 months. You don't currently have an agent. You are working on your pre-approval right now. Let's get together. Let's sit down. Let's go over what's out there in the market for you. How does that sound? Right? So now you close for the appointment. Would you be available Tuesday at 9 or Wednesday at 3? They tell you, you set the appointment, get them into the office. Okay. This is, again, safety. I'm really going to drill this in. And I know people are probably like, I came here for a buyer consultation. Safety is paramount to everything else. Your life is not worth a bad client. You just don't know who you're going to meet. So make sure you're going to meet with these people. I know that in all of my years of real estate, I was primarily a buyer's agent. I did do listings, but mostly I was a buyer's agent. It just was my nature. I tended to attract buyers. I did very well with that. So I took this very seriously. And if I couldn't bring them into the office, let's say that they're going to be looking at houses in Venice, they might not want to come up here. I'd meet them at a Dunkin' Donuts. I would bring another agent with me. Maybe I'd bring a lender with me, just maybe one of my teenage kids at the time. I always was making sure that I had backup, number one, and number two, that I was in a public place to meet anybody. I would never, ever go meet them at a door, because you just don't know who they are. So start with this. And again, I'll share any materials I have today with you. Just let me know what you're looking for. So then once you get them into the office,
So that would be, somebody got your business card, or somebody said, I know a realtor, give them a call. They called you, so you've never contacted this person before.
right.
And you just want to establish those, is this person very serious, and kind of get to figure out where they're looking for, what they're looking for.
Right.
And then you want to meet them to, not at the house what they're interested in, you want to meet them either here or a public place.
Preferably.
Sign a contract.
Preferably.
To use you.
Yes.
Their buyer's agent.
Exactly. And we're going to go over that a little bit too. And, when I talk to people, a lot of times they don't use a buyer agency agreement because they're really not comfortable with it. And it's not that hard to be comfortable with once you understand it a little better. And so that's one of the main reasons why I really wanted to be part of this class, because I've always done them. My husband just walked in. Hi, George. He always does them because that's how I trained him, is to do them. And it's protection for you. It's protection for your clients, protection for your business. So that's all part of our presentation. So I did actually bring a hard copy as well of our PowerPoint, which again, we'll be happy to share this with you. And we've modified this over time because what we found, this was basically a stock presentation that we were able to get. And then we found that it was a lot of mechanicals, which are important. And this book is really important to hand to the client. They can keep this. This isn't for us, this is for them. But the mechanicals are for them to keep and kind of go through as a guide as we go through the process. But when we first sit down, we have our own copy of this. We give them a copy of this and we go through it slide by slide. So with that being said, I've brought the client in. They're sitting across the table from me at this point, or on Zoom. You can do this on Zoom as well. And I have George's presentation. So this is my husband, George, and this is his picture. And then it talks about his background and his bio a little bit, which is always good. You want them to know who you are. Where did you come from? I don't care what you've done in your past. You've done something that helps you with real estate, right? whether you've worked with people in a retail environment, or my husband was in the military, so he's got that background. He's got a lot of leadership skills because of that. I personally, when I first started in real estate, we had raised our kids, and I had done daycare out of my house for 7 years. So I had, that behind me, and I had done a lot with the military as well, with family readiness groups and all of that. So I talked about my history. I always bring back your history into it, and pick out your qualities and put those into your bio. And then we talk about our team, and we're really big on our value proposition and what we offer to the client. What you'll find is, as we go through what we offer to our clients, it's all about being a single agent. If I'm not a single agent, I can't actually give you my full value proposition, because I have to take parts off if I act as a transaction agent. So, and we'll go over that. So this is our bio, and we would talk a little bit about our background and then what our team offers. And then we actually explain the differences between single agency and transaction brokerage, because in Florida, you are automatically a transaction broker. Do you guys know the difference between the two? Okay, not everybody does. So when you go into a buyer consultation and you're talking about all the things that you offer, you have to make sure if you're going to be a single agent, you can explain everything. If you're going to act as a transaction broker, you cannot. And what people don't realize is that they don't have this single agent versus transaction agent conversation. Most transaction agents act as single agents, but they've never disclosed it. That's a problem. So you don't want that to come back at you at any time where you've treated them like you were their single agent and you actually weren't. So know the differences. And I actually have a few little scripts that I printed out. So one thing that I really, really like, if you're going to explain, because people say, well, what's the difference? What is single agent versus transaction broker? Well, as a transaction broker, I can work with you, but I cannot work for you. So there are limited things here. So you have to deal honestly and fairly no matter what. As a single agent, I can offer you loyalty. What that means is you tell me what you want written in that contract. I have to follow what you want. So I'm going to do everything for you as you talk about, because I'm not a transaction agent where I'm just putting it together. I'm actually working for you. So the actual definition I found was, this duty obligates a real estate broker to act at all times solely in the best interest of his principal, to the exclusion of all other interest, including the broker's own self-interest. So that's what loyalty means. Confidentiality, I thought this was really interesting because you do have limited confidentiality. However, with limited confidentiality, it actually prevents you from telling your client whether either party will move on their sale price or offer, whether there are other offers from potential buyers, whether the seller's, anything about the seller's urgency to sell the property, any conflicts of interest, and a property value estimate. So you cannot do an adjusted market analysis for your buyer. That's one of the things we like to tell our buyers that we'll always do. We will always, if we're working as a single agent, we will always put together a market analysis on the property prior to them buying it, so we know that they're getting the accurate value. We don't want them to underbid or overbid. We want to tell them what the market's showing them it's worth. Well, you can't do that if you're just a transaction broker. So just be careful how you represent your clients.
You'd be breaking the law by giving them that information.
You're acting as a single agent. You can't even really suggest a home inspector to them. You're literally
you're upping your quality of your service.
Yep.
But so why does the law not want you? I understand you can point where you're dual agency, you're representing the buyer and the seller. But if you're working with somebody and you're selling a transaction broker, I mean, why would they not want you to give them better service? That's
why you want to tell them why you should be their single agent.
I mean, I absolutely understand why you want to be an agent, you know why.
Yeah. So transaction brokerage is literally just putting the transaction together. That's it. You can't give them those extra duties of loyalty, obedience, and full disclosure if you're acting as a transaction broker.
And that's why you say they do act as a single agency, because they, as a transaction broker,
accidentally
probably don't answer the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you should.
Accidentally, they do. And it can open you up for liability. So you really got it. That's why this is really important that you have these conversations with your buyers. So one of the things too is that, so let's put it into real life practice. So a seller says, a seller tells me, I'm working with you as a transaction broker, and the seller tells me that, or let me put this differently, party to seller for what a buyer might pay. Okay, so the buyer or the seller tells me they'll accept X dollars. As a transaction broker, I'm actually not allowed to tell my buyer that. It's just because I'm just a transaction broker. Now, if I'm a single agent, I have a duty to tell my buyer that. So it's really important that you understand the differences because, again, don't get caught acting as a single agent when you're not a single agent. So that's why we're really big on getting agency disclosure signed. And so this just kind of explains it, and you can kind of go into that. And another way that I like to put it when I'm teaching this is I'm your poker card holder. Whatever you tell me, if I'm a single agent, whatever you tell me, I hold right here, and I use it to the benefit of getting you the house. If I'm a transaction broker, I don't have that. I don't have that ability to do that. So if you tell me, well, I have $500,000 in the bank, but I really only want to spend $350,000, they're only going to know $350,000. They're never going to hear that you have extra money or you could go higher, because we're working in your best interest. Because I'm working for you, not with you. I'm working for you. So learn that. I think that's really important. Then we talk about what our value proposition is for our clients. So we have an extensive list of our properties because we actually do have a lot of properties that we know are coming on. We cannot show them, we cannot tell them the address, but right as it's about to go on, we can tell them, hey, this is coming on the market today. You know, we thought you might like it, type of thing, because we know we have all these off-market properties that are coming on. We have a matchmaking program that we offer because right now in this crazy market, we actually have sellers that want to sell their house, but they have nowhere to buy. So if we know that we're listing this property in Venice and they want to move from Sarasota to Venice, and the Venice people want to move up to Sarasota, then we can matchmake them, you know, to let them know that we finally found a property that you might actually like, because they can't go anywhere. They're literally trapped in their house because they don't have anything that they want to buy. So we have that program. We stay by our client side while we put it all together. We put together a CMA, comparative market analysis, prior to putting in an offer to make sure that you have the facts of the market on your side. We call and interview the listing agent to get any information basically about the seller. Because again, we're working for you, not with you. We find out as much information about the sellers as we can. We research the home, we check its history, permits, previous sales, and more. And we have a number of tools to help you through the contracting process. We work with escalation addendums, we work with repairs, maneuver through the pitfalls, and so much more. And our goal is for you to actually become a raving fan. We want to make our clients love us so much that all they want to do is refer us more business from their friends and family, because they loved the job that we did for them. So another thing about our team is that we donate to charities. These are some of our charities that we donate to, specifically Shelter Box. We do a donation to Shelter Box and KW Cares on every one of our closings, and we let our clients know that. And we explain what those are. And then these are some vendors that we work with. Now again, transaction broker, you can't give them any recommendations. As a single agent, you can recommend mortgage brokers, real estate attorneys, home inspectors, and all that. And then this is our promise, which is actually, we ripped off and duplicated this from the Mike Hicks group. And what it basically says is, and I'll actually read it, if you keep working with us, our promise to you is that we will do everything we can to make sure this is an excellent experience for you. If it is not a promise that everything will go right all the time, but it is a promise that we will be right there with you and help you work through any issues that come up. In return, we hope that you will provide us with a referral and a review by the end of this transaction. By providing us with a referral and a review, we know that we have provided you with excellent service, and that just means the world to us. It is important to note that it is not just myself that will make this promise to you, it is our whole team. And honestly, we use this on all of our communications throughout the process with the buyers and the sellers. And we tell them that if we didn't get a referral or review by the end of the process, we'll feel that we didn't do a good job. So typically that's how we're building a bigger business. So that actually for us, when we're sitting down and doing this presentation with a buyer, at this point, you could actually break apart and say, you know, you could go into single agency versus transaction brokerage and talk about an exclusive buyer agency agreement, because we've given them everything that we would love to work with them and how we can work with them. But if they don't want us to be a single agent, then we won't be signing an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement with them. But typically, this is where you could just give them a pen and pass it over and ask them to sign it and read through it. And I'll show you what that looks like. But if they're not ready yet, you can also go through the whole home buying process. So this is our, go ahead.
So that's, for you to be a single agent, that's the benefit to you, that you can have them sign that they'll work with you and you only, because you want that. If they don't sign single agency, then you cannot have that signed. So then you're losing out.
So then you're explaining to them what you can't do for them. Right. You can work with them no matter what. You can't work for them without having single agency. You don't have to do an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. You can just have them sign a form that's explaining single agency, and you can work in that capacity. I personally don't see the value in not getting the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement signed, because it's protecting you as well. So basically, when I hand over that exclusive buyer agency agreement to them, I tell them they're more than welcome to read through it. This is it. It literally breaks down, and I'll actually skip.
They cancel it anytime.
They can cancel it anytime.
No.
Correct. And what I tell them is, I'm not here to round up buyers that don't want to work with me. I'm here to work with you and help you to find the best home and the best home for the least amount of money. That's my goal. I can only do that by being a single agent. Like, I'm really going to be looking through the MLS, searching for the best properties for you to send to you, to give to you. Sometimes I even find a home that you don't think you'd like, and then we go look at it and you love it. So I'm really, really working for you. And what I explain is, this shows you that when, let's say you go to an open house and I'm not there, you sign in with your name, but put my information and let them know I'm working with Danielle at Keller Williams. Here's her phone number. If you have any questions of me, call her, she'll tell you, because I know my relationship with them. What ends up happening at open houses is buyers come in and they tell the whole story. Well, they've just told me all information, right? Now I'm a seller. Let's say I'm a listing agent. I'm at the house. You walk in the door. You start telling me, well, I have 500,000 in the bank, but I only want to spend 350. Well, now I'm working for the seller, right? I'm going to tell my seller everything. You've just lost all your negotiating power. And buyers don't understand that. So we have to educate them that as you walk into an open house, as with me as your single agent, you're going to let them know, here's my name, here's my agent's contact information, call her for any information, because they might want feedback and I can give them feedback and whatnot. Because I don't want them to give too much information to that seller's agent. And buyers don't always understand not to pick up the phone and call the listing agent for information, right? But that's really our job as single agents, is to do that for them and to protect them. Make sense? Okay, so again, this is the mechanics. And what I would say at this point is, you know, Mr. Buyer, as we're going through, and I've already gone through all of the value propositions and everything that we offer as a team and as individual single agents, this is just the mechanics of the wholesale. You're going to keep this book. This is your guide moving forward. I'll go over every page of this and explain everything to you. But the biggest thing is I'm going to repeat this over and over throughout the process. So just know you have your guide in your hand, but I'll always repeat this over and over anyways. So I go through this process a little bit, but honestly, at this point, I'm asking them to sign buyer agency agreement because I've told them everything that they're going to get for our services, right? So this just kind of walks through selecting the agent, you're obtaining financial pre-approval, you're finding out at your first meeting, do you have a pre-approval letter? Are you paying cash? You've already kind of got an idea, but now you're going into it a little bit deeper. We're doing the buyer's consultation today. Now let's pick out some properties that will be a good fit for you. Then we will go out and view some properties, write an offer, negotiate the terms, once the contract gets accepted, you'll submit your earnest money deposit. And then we're going to work on removing your contingencies. And these are some of the contingencies. And then before closing, you'll change your utilities, you'll obtain your funds, you'll close on the property, and you'll move in. And this we're actually looking to update because we don't like this part of the book. It's too detailed for us. We feel that there's not this page so much, but in general, what I think we should do in our presentation is have these not be double-sided and be blank on the backside so we can just start asking questions and use this as a guide. So have them fill out the basic information and the general information. And then what's important? What you find out, especially when you're working with couples, the husband must have this and the wife must have this. They don't always match. Sometimes they're not even close or on the same plane. So we need to find out, what do you have to have as a family? What would you want? And what are your wishes? So that way, if they say, well, we absolutely have to have 4 bedrooms. Well, that's basic. The whole family needs 4 bedrooms, right? What do you want? Well, we'd like a pool. And then maybe the husband says, well, I'd really like a 4-car garage. Okay. So you get this worked out. That'll help you to narrow down what they're looking for. And then you go on to your lifestyle and location, and you're asking, because down here especially, do you want to be on a golf course? Do you want to be in a community with community resources? Do you want a community pool? Do you have to have tennis courts? Do you want to be in the woods with 5 acres? These are all things you need to know. If they're looking at condos, you need to know if they have pets, what size pets they have, because condos have different restrictions. Actually, even some HOAs have restrictions on pets, how many and how large and types of breeds and all that. So you need to know that going into it. And then location, how far do you need to be from work? Just anything like that. Some people don't care, some people it's vital. And then again, this just kind of goes into it, and then it goes into how, making an offer and what are the basics of making an offer, the price, the move-in date. And then we have the items needed for the loan application. So this is great for them to keep with them at any time. And then the mortgage and loan process. And then when you're making an offer, what can happen? So when we make an offer for you, once we've found the house that you love, we're going to make an offer. And we typically recommend 2% down payment, but that is negotiable. You have your inspection period. On the contract, it's automatically 15 days, but you can change that to more or less depending on the home and what the situation is. Any additional property. So is there a wine fridge that you want to stay, you'd want to stay? You can write that into the contract, things like that. And then once the seller receives your offer, they have 3 choices. They can either accept, reject, or counter the offer with changes. Typically, you're going to see them either accept it or counter it. And countering could even be a simple change like a closing date. Or it could be that they want more money, or they want less time for the closing date, or they want, just different things. Any change to your initial offer makes it a counter offer. And then it comes back into your court, whether you want to accept those changes or counter back. So then it goes into a little bit of a volley until you get it negotiated. definitely the most common is the counteroffer. Sometimes it's an acceptance. So so we're working again on your behalf to get you the best price and terms with the home that you want. And then when you prepare for the closing, you have the closing day. And that's the date that you will transfer ownership into you. And you will make sure you bring your photo IDs and the wire the funds over for closing, anything like that. And then ownership is when the delivery of the buyer's funds from either the lender or from your bank into the title company. They close that out for you, and then they deliver the deed. And then here are some frequently asked questions that we've found, and obviously you can update this and make it better, or add questions that you get a lot that you'd want to add to that. And then, hold on. And these are so when COVID started last year, we got real serious about our procedures and our protocols, and we explain what we do for our clients. All of our listings, we put sanitation packs in, and we have notes in there explaining what the process is. We don't want anybody in the house without masks on. We want to protect our sellers' property and other buyers. So we explain that. This is our policy for health and safety. And then we have our moving checklist, which is again great for them to have when they go along the process, and they keep this book. So, and then what's next? That's this page right here. We have our mobile app at the bottom. And I actually added this. This does not, typically we have this loosely, it's not bound in the book. We keep it loose. But this is the buyer agency agreement, the buyer brokerage agreement. And this just explains, again, how we represent the buyers. And so you can read through this yourself, but I'd be happy to go over it with you too. Hold on 1 second. Any questions so far? Yeah, you would be right here. So you would be right here. This would be the buyer's name. This would be your name. And actually, if there is a part of this too, if you were ever to change brokerages, or even if the broker here changed, this transfers with you. So it changes that. Typically, depending on the situation for the buyer, I would make this a 1-year agreement. And when I hand this to the buyer, I literally say to them, this is going to explain my duties to you, your duties to me. And if at any time you're unhappy with my services, please give me the opportunity to fix whatever you think is wrong. We will fix that. And if we just aren't working well together, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'd rather rip this up than have an unhappy client. I've never had it happen, but it can happen, so I want to make sure that we have raving fans for life. That's my goal. That's my job. That's my goal. And I want to make sure that we're making them as happy as possible and getting them into their next best place in their life. So that's why we do this agreement. So if you read through this a little bit, it just explains everything about my obligations like we went over before. And then their obligations to us. And again, that's walking into an open house. If they happen to talk to another real estate agent, let them know that they're represented and to contact us directly. Do not share their information as far as what they're looking to spend or anything with any other agents, because it takes away their bargaining power. Let me do that for you. That's why you're hiring me. So that's all in there. We do not charge a retainer for buyer agency. Some people do. We don't do that. I'm not going to go into compensation. That's really up to you, what you decide. I also explained that we are compensated through the MLS. And so typically they don't have to bring any money to the table for me. I will get paid once they close. And I don't really do, I've never really done leases, so I haven't filled one out for that. And I haven't really done options. I do put in here, just like we do in our listing agreements. Personally, we do 180-day termination. protection period. And basically that somebody must have gotten sued at some point. I'm not sure what or who, but the protection period is, let's say that I bring you to 123 Main Street today, and you end up having a side conversation with the seller. And the seller says, don't worry, my contract's expiring tomorrow. Come back tomorrow and I'll sell you this house. Well, I've brought you to the house. I've shown you the house. I've procured that sale technically. And if you were to go behind my back and purchase that property from the seller directly, we would still be owed a commission. So that's what that's all about, in case anybody ever asks. And then early termination, I explained that we don't want unhappy clients, we want happy clients. So if at any time we're not working out well, that we would be happy to terminate the agreement. And then this actually shows you the list.
You can still stipulate the previous 180 days if your, excuse me, if your buyer fires you, but they go back and purchase a house that you've shown them.
I think
Because everyone,
that's a question for the broker. I'm not 100% sure about that. Let me double check what it says here. So buyer will pay broker's compensation if within 180 days of termination date, buyer contracts to acquire any property which was called to a buyer's attention by a broker or any other persons are found by buyer during the term of this agreement. So yeah,
because of, I mean,
I think
it
so.
appears that they're firing you to
I would
go
double
back
check.
into the house.
I would double check with Scott and Austin, but I believe that that's what it says. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because then you don't want them to fire you and then go buy the house that you procured for them, right?
Yeah, no, so
Yeah.
the seller, you know, can you knock X amount off, but you want to pay the commission, yeah.
You'll see it. That it's a crazy market. And then this just simply explains our duties again as a single agent. I hope I've drilled that into everybody. That's really important to be a single agent. I think the biggest thing is that frustrates me is that so many people just act as single agents when they're transaction agents. You don't want that to come back at you. You know, that's like, it's kind of like going to church, talking to the priest, giving him your confidentiality, and then he goes and tells somebody. You'd feel really, that's bad, right? So you're telling them you're basically their, if you're not having them sign single agency and you're acting like you are, they're trusting you with everything and you don't have any duty to really not share that information. Some, yes, but not all, and that could work against them. So why wouldn't they want somebody that's really in their corner, really holding their cards and really protecting them?
I think if you haven't been in real estate, you don't really know the difference between single and transaction. So when you explain it to them, they'll think you know, I think it's a good thing because you're trying to offer them a higher level of service.
Absolutely.
And you know what they should be expecting from somebody else.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I want to give you my absolute best, but to do all of these things for you, I need you to be a single agent.
And you might hear the story as, oh, I worked with so-and-so and they did that too, but I never had to sign anything. Well, that wasn't very smart. That wasn't, not on their part, but on the agent's part. You just really, I think, protect yourself, protect them. That's why we do these agreements. Now, there are multiple forms of this. This is the only one I've ever used. I know that you can get different forms from different locations. So please, please, please understand what you're getting them to sign before you do. This is the only one I've ever used, so this is the one I understand the most, but there's lots. So the other thing that's important, the one that we use, is single agent with consent to transaction broker, and that means literally any agent in this office has a listing, and you have a buyer, and you're working as a single agent. If you were to show any of the properties for any listing in this office, you need to transition to transaction brokerage. It's only because the broker, the overall overseeing broker, can't have both. He can't be a single agent to two parties, right? So that's why you have to consent to transaction. So you have to pull back the reins on some of the things, but it doesn't mean you don't still, what you already know stays with you. But moving forward, now it's just a matter of putting the transaction together.
But if you show them a property that is listed with this office, they don't like it, can you then go back to being a single agent after you show them
Yeah.
one property that
Yeah,
one
of course.
required to be a transfer.
Yeah, so if you show a property in this office, you're transitioning to transaction for that, for that one transaction. If you go to show them Colville Banker House next,
That's just something that-
yeah, you're still, so it's really property specific when it comes down to it. And if they get a contract accepted, right? So if you put an offer in on a property and they're going through the transaction, that's when you become, you transition back to a transaction agent. So that's what that's all about.
It's a husband and wife buyer.
Mhm.
Do you need both their signatures?
Yes.
If you only get one, there can be issues down the road.
I would make sure you get both. Just like anything, think about who's signing the
One person
contract,
could say, I didn't even
right?
know.
And think about
Never
who,
signed it.
who's gonna, if you were to put an offer in, who's gonna be on the offer? Who's signing the contract? Who's involved? The parties involved. I've never once had anybody backlash me on this. They've all signed it. It's really, really about building the relationship. It's really about having your presentation ready and being able to sit down in front of them and talk to them about your values and what you're offering to them for them to understand. Again, this is, you can get a call. I want to go see 123 Main Street, and you can go. I think you're wasting your time. I think you're putting yourself at risk for safety reasons. I want you to be a business owner, not a door opener. I think those are important things. So I know I kind of went fast on all of this. Does anybody have any questions?
So I guess to go back to the very beginning,
Mhm.
when you're giving your presentation and you're arranging the meeting place, you ask, who would be interested, and you try to both of them there. for the
Absolutely.
presentation.
And I'll tell you what you learn over time. Husband calls, wants to go see a house, wife's not available, husband loves the house, wants to put an offer in, wife hates the house. Just wasted your time, right? So it's always best to have all parties that are going to be buying that purchase together to, when you first meet them, in my opinion.
So there is more to being presenting a seller.
Mhm.
And then you look at the buyer's presentation, you got to go in there and get a lot put down, but yes, it's a presentation as well.
Mhm.
You're not just signing up.
No, I think that that's the biggest, thing today, and especially in this insane market where we're getting calls every day on our listings. I mean, things are just crazy right now, and we all know it. Wouldn't it be best, if they have that relationship with you, and then they know where you stand, where they stand, and how you can best help each other to get them to their goal? I think that's the biggest thing. George is smiling and laughing back there. So what do you have to share? You're doing this daily. What do you have to share with everybody about buyer presentations and the value of them?
You can definitely do more for your client if you become a single agent as opposed to a transaction broker. Not everybody's going to sign them, though. But when I work with somebody, my ultimate goal is to become friends with them. Let them know that I'm here to work with them and make them feel comfortable. If you do that, you can pretty much get them to sign anything, really. That's the biggest thing I can add is everybody I've dealt with, they all want to go on and have drinks with me. It's just, I mean, once I get in front of somebody, they like me for whatever reason.
Oh, you're a likable guy, George.
Want to invite me over for dinner or whatever it may be. But definitely, being a single agent, you can do more for them. And they understand that if they've done any type of real estate in the past, they'll understand that. But if not, that's what the presentation is, to explain it to them why it's so important.
Just a whole lot of value and professionalism.
Correct.
You're basically interviewing for a job. And I've said this for years. People say, oh, you could sell ice to an Eskimo, you could blah, blah. I go, yeah, but I'm not a car salesman. If I was a car salesman, then that Toyota has those features and that's what I'm selling. In real estate, you're selling yourself. You sell you to represent them. The home's gonna come. You're not selling homes. I mean, if you're a new construction specialist, you are. but when you're working with a client, they want you to educate them. They want you to lead them. They need you to educate and lead them. It's truly one of the reasons why I loved working with buyers so much, because I was able to share that process with them throughout and always be their guide and their leader, and they loved that. And
I think
so
you're somewhat scared as a buyer because it's
Terrified.
money. You may be a first-time buyer. You're making a decision that's going to affect a large part of your life. So you kind of want someone maybe that's to hold your hand and you answer any questions you possibly could.
right.
And who better to do that than a single agent?
Exactly. And like he said, you really do end up bonding. I find that a buyer's agent or buyer's agency is where it's such an intimate process. It's one of the largest investments they're going to make in their life, and they want to make sure they're in the right hands. So for you to be that guy for them is really vital. Yeah. And they don't know what they don't know, by the way. So you don't have to be like the most knowledgeable person on the earth to start. You're going to learn as you go. Just start. Just show professionalism, do a presentation for them, make sure you're meeting them somewhere, stay safe, give them the education. If you don't know the answer, tell them, that's a great question, I'll get back to you. You don't have to know everything. Just present yourself, sell yourself, and give them the guidance they need to make the right decision in buying their first home or their second home or reselling. Or, I mean, now you're going to find people that are up in Maine purchasing down here without being down here. You might not even meet them before. George just had a sale 2 days ago, has never met the person. They just closed on their home. He's never even met them. He's going to meet them in a couple weeks when they come down, because that's how nuts this market is. And we live in Florida, so people move from other places.
And we're open.
So,
You can send them a copy of the form they signed.
oh, absolutely. And you always should. Anything that is signed by two parties should always be sent back within a matter of days. 3 days, I believe, is the limit that you're supposed to send anything signed back. Back in the day, I had triplicate forms. So do you guys, well, you probably remember that. You're all kind of young, but you write the form out and then you give them a copy and you take a copy and then you file a copy, and yeah. So by emailing it back to them, that's your triplicate form, right? You got to make sure they get that. Does anybody have any other questions? What were your big ahas?
That I knew that to list a house was, you really had to sell yourself and really had to give a great presentation. But to work with a seller or a buyer, it's absolutely important to sell yourself and to give a presentation and to let them know, I'm not just going to look at an MLS for a house for you. I'm going to work for you, and I'm going to make this project seamless.
Exactly. I love that. Anybody else have anything?
Which you always thought, a buyer would, you pick up the phone and say, I'm interested in this house, you'd meet them, show them the house, and then you just bring up a whole lot of other projects I could look at. But
Right.
That's not service.
No, it's not service.
You wouldn't do that.
Exactly. Anybody on Zoom got anything? Questions? Ahas? What'd you learn? What would you like to learn? Any other questions? Nothing?
No questions, but thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'll share, if you want the presentation, feel free to just email me. I put my email in the chat box and I'll send it over to you. And again, make it yours, change it up. I mean, the slides, I put the buyer agency agreement in there. Typically we leave that as a standalone, and there's a great binding machine here. I don't know if you guys know this or not. We use it all the time, but we bind it and we give it to them like this, and then they can keep it for themselves. And then we also do that for when we go to show houses. We do nice little presentations for that as well. So
There is that machine in the office.
Mhm.
The binding machine.
Yep, there's a binding machine right at the back of the office. You just need to make sure you have your, you want to buy these clear plastic sheets, and then we use a red one, but you can buy these in any color you want, and these binding combs. But if you're doing a lot of work, you might as well get them because it's a much nicer presentation. Or you can get presentation folders and do that instead. However you want. I mean, we like to use it that way, but you can do whatever you want to make it nice.
One thing I do is if I do a Zoom one, I've done several Zoom ones, but I say time.
Talk up just a little bit, George. I'm not sure if everybody can hear you.
Oh, I, for people that are out of state or people that don't want to get together and meet with you in an environment, and you do a Zoom one, always email it to them prior to, an hour or two prior, so they can thumb through it as well.
Mhm.
That's what I do, and then I'll get on, and then I ask them, I could first make sure they've gotten the presentation, and then, they have it in front of them so they can make notes on it as well.
So you would take exactly what you saw there?
Correct.
Scan that all through?
Yep, and just send it in as an email. I have it on my computer.
Yeah, it's a PowerPoint presentation.
So I just send the
Mhm.
presentation to them, then they can print it out, and then they can write on it and stuff like that. So they have it, and then I bring it up on the screen so they can follow through as well. But at least they get it prior to you doing it, so they have an idea of what you're going, what you're going over. So,
George, what would you do different or add to this presentation?
I thought it was pretty good. I wouldn't change anything. I mean, you stressed the importance of the fire broker agreement, so, and then the rest of it is kind of, as real estate agents, we understand the needs and wants of everybody we deal with, so that's important as well, but, getting them to sign this, and I think I've only had one person not sign it, but I want to not working with them anyway. They decide to hold off is what the problem, what their issue was, but I haven't had a problem getting anybody to sign it. I have a couple here that I'm showing homes this week. They needed a break today, that's why I'm not out showing them today, but they will sign this. They said they will definitely want to only work with me, and they're from Massachusetts, where I'm originally from. So as long as and I didn't bring it up right away. I brought it up the second day. I didn't bring it up the first day, just so they could understand and see how I was working for them, and they were like, yeah. Well, the reason being is because I brought them to a couple. Well, our first day we went to on construction here in Lakewood Ranch, and we went over to Lakewood Ranch Nationals because they want to be on a golf course, and the person there was very cold. That she didn't give them the time of day really. They had to ask questions instead of. And everybody else we went to was very joyful and like that, but when we left there, they're like, wow, she was kind of rude. I go, she probably, they only have like 5 or 10, 15, 20 lots left. They probably they got a list of people, so they don't care, so they don't give them the time of day. If you become personable with these people, they will sign the single agent broker agreement.
Mm-hmm. And just be careful. Don't act like a single agent when you're not. Know the differences. Protect yourself. I mean, again, I go into deep detail about safety. I know I've had friends be attacked at open houses. I've seen the news where agents have been murdered. It's not just women, it's men. Of course, women are a little bit more, I think, at risk, but you got to be careful. And I don't want you to be door openers. I really want you to look at it like a business, and that you're a business owner and that you're interviewing for a job, because otherwise you truly are a door opener. If you answer a call and you run to a house, you're a door opener, and they have no loyalty to you. You don't really have any loyalty to them. What time did you waste doing that? Can it work out once in a while? Yes, but I'm not going to emphasize that because typically it's not. You don't even know if they're qualified. They might not even be able to buy a house, and we'll sit down. That's the other thing to add to this. Sitting down with somebody, they might not know where they stand, but you're going to guide them through that process. And we've always said, hey, you may not be ready to buy right now. We don't know because you're not pre-approved yet. We're going to get you through that process. And if you're not ready today, guess what? We're still here for you. We're going to walk through this process with you with whatever lender you choose. And we're going to be paying attention to where you stand in the process. And when you're ready, we're going to be here for you. So we're working with them even when we're not working with them, And if they need help, like finding a rental or whatever, we'll refer them out to somebody that can help them with that. So that's why it's so important. And they love that. I have clients back in Massachusetts who are still friends of mine from 10 years ago because they weren't ready to buy. I stood with them through the whole process. And when they were ready to buy, we found them the perfect home. We worked together. It was great. And they still are so thankful for that today. So build the relationships. Don't be a door opener. Be a business owner and work for your clients, not just with them.
So knock on doors, don't open doors.
That's all right. Anything else that I can share or help with anything? I know we had another half hour left, but if you're good and I'm good.
I guess less questions, there's less people.
Yeah, I know. I miss the classroom people. I want the classroom back someday, soon enough, right? Well, if you guys need anything, my email is right there. I'm actually going to put my phone number for my desk line in here. Feel free to give me a call at any time, and I'd be happy to assist you with anything you need. Sound good?
Yep, thank you very much.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Informative. Are there a lot of those